Albus Dumbledore, headmaster of Hogwarts and one of the most beloved characters in the Harry Potter universe, is best remembered for willingly giving his life in the fight against the evil Lord Voldemort. A friend to Harry, a hero of the First Wizarding War, and an unswerving idealist, Albus Dumbledore had all the makings of an INFJ. And so does his creator, J.K. Rowling. The famous author struggled for years before hitting it big with the world's best-selling children's book series, which she wrote while dealing with the death of her mother, an abusive relationship, and finally, as a single mother on social assistance. Like Dumbledore, J.K. Rowling used the grief and trauma of her life as a foundation to build something positive. To see how she did it, we need to understand how INFJs, and introverts in general, cope differently with stress, grief, and trauma. You may have noticed you don't deal with these things the same way many other people do. Perhaps people around you have told you that a great way to relieve stress is to hit a bar for some drinks with friends, or to take in a ball game at the local arena.
What is the fella's name on third base?
What is the fella's name on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base.
But to you, this sounds like adding stress on top of already existing stress. You'd much rather spend a few hours alone, walking on the beach, or curl up with an entertaining or inspiring book at home.
I checked this out weeks ago for a bit of light reading.
This is light.
And many people have told you, in times of grief, to let it all out. But that doesn't seem natural to you at all. You'd rather focus on something else, something outside yourself, something you can help with. Don't worry, you're not a freak. In all likelihood, you're just an introvert.
6:30, dinner with me. I can't cancel that again.
And these are the natural coping mechanisms for people like you, and especially for INFJs. But first, let's clarify what we mean by an INFJ. Of the 16 personality types in the Myers-Briggs Personality Type Indicator, INFJs are the rarest type of person, accounting for only 1 to 3% of the U.S. population. An INFJ, also known as the advocate personality, is introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. We tend to be thoughtful, inward-looking, creative, and imaginative people, with a streak of perfection and sometimes a strong need to please others. And you are in good company. Although they're a rare type, many of the world's most creative and influential people have been INFJs. Actors like Al Pacino and Jennifer Connelly, musicians like Lady Gaga and Peter Gabriel, and writers like Agatha Christie and Leo Tolstoy are among the many INFJs who have changed our world. But for those of us who grew up over the past 25 years, J.K. Rowling may be the INFJ who stands out the most. If you're among this unique group of people, you can see in J.K. Rowling how your coping mechanisms, guided properly, can lead to a successful life and a real shot at self-fulfillment. Rowling is arguably the world's most successful author, and certainly the richest. Her Harry Potter books have sold more than 500 million copies so far, and the 8 films made of them are, together, the highest-grossing movie franchise of all time. Rowling has only avoided becoming a billionaire by giving away enormous amounts of money to charity. Today, she finds herself embroiled in online controversies surrounding trans rights and feminism, and her hot takes on those issues have earned her as many enemies as they have friends. All these elements of her life, her incredible works of imagination, her charitable activities, her strong opinions defended with passion.
I hate the homeless and this problem that plagues our city.
Whatever you may think of them, are hallmarks of the INFJ personality type. We INFJs are known to be idealistic and principled people. We can be ambitious,
Slytherin!
but not so much in terms of wealth or social status, rather in terms of personal fulfillment, helping others, creating something meaningful, or making the world a better place. The idea of excessive wealth is so distasteful to Rowling that she has established and donated to dozens of charities. She founded Lumos, dedicated to ending the institutionalization of children. As an orphan, Harry Potter could relate.
Wake up, cousin! We're going to the zoo!
One of the themes of Rowling's book series, which even many fans may not have noticed, is the danger of raising children in institutions like Hogwarts, if those children don't have a loving family. Several of Rowling's books have profits donated to charities, such as Comic Relief, an anti-poverty group, and Gingerbread, dedicated to helping single mothers and their children. In fact, INFJs will often be found advocating for a cause or idea, hence their advocate label. We also tend to have a hard time dealing with multiple tasks or problems all at once. Extroverted people often thrive on the chaos of doing many things at once. It can be energizing for them, giving them a sense of purpose and self-worth. But for introverts, the sense of having many things flying at you all at once can be overwhelming. Rowling once described how, as a young woman, she worked as an office staffer for Amnesty International. In that job, she was, in her own words, one of the most disorganized people in the world, and the worst secretary ever. Rowling seemed not to be able to keep up with the demands of a job that involved many different small tasks. She lost track of the conversation in meetings, and spent much of her work time on her own writing. But is Rowling actually disorganized? Consider this. She had the outline for all 7 Harry Potter books worked out before she even wrote the first book. That doesn't sound like a disorganized person. That is the sort of forward thinking we see from INFJs. Their intense focus on the future.
First, you must look beyond.
But it also shows the struggle INFJs have with multitasking. Faced with a secretarial job composed of many different little tasks, Rowling withdrew instead into her one true job, writing Harry Potter. A great deal of anxiety and stress comes with being an INFJ, and that comes from the fact that we are constantly thinking about the future.
Together we shall cast ourselves into the future.
That imaginative focus can give you the ability to make big plans and move towards ambitious goals, but it also means you spend a lot of time thinking about the risk and problems ahead, and that causes stress. For INFJs, and for INFTs, or architects, a similar personality type, the ability to imagine the future is so strong that sometimes it may seem as real to us as the present, and that can cause a lot of anxiety. Faced with stress, extroverts will typically look for ways to socialize and burn off steam, but introverts will often choose to be alone. Rowling once described in a tweet how when she's stressed or overwhelmed, she likes to read biographies of people who overcame great challenges, something she describes as soothing and inspiring. You should give yourself the space to deal with stress how you need to, even if it means occasionally withdrawing from the world. Just remember to rejoin it eventually. As she tells it, the worst day of J.K. Rowling's life was New Year's Day, 1991, when Rowling was 25 years old. That morning, her mother died after a 10-year battle with multiple sclerosis. It was a grief unlike any she had ever known, and Rowling says all these years later, she still thinks daily about her mother. Faced with this pain, Rowling did something common to INFJs. She ran away, all the way to Portugal, where she found herself marrying a Portuguese journalist, a relationship that eventually would turn abusive and toxic. This is one of the downsides of the INFJ personality. We often internalize our feelings and focus our attention on someone else. Instead of fixing ourselves, we feel better by trying to fix another person. Focusing on a new husband didn't work for Rowling. Within a few years, she ran away from her rocky marriage and returned to England, but now with a baby daughter, Jessica, in tow. Rowling found herself living on social assistance as a single mom and lapsed into a depression. In interviews years later, she said that during this time she entertained serious thoughts of suicide. Like with her mother's death, Rowling wanted to retreat, to run away from her problems. But this time, the thought of her infant daughter Jessica kept her focused. Like many INFJs, she found something outside herself to focus on, to allow her to deal with her pain. But this time, Rowling sought out therapy, something she says has helped her throughout her life, not just at this dark moment. As she thought to clear her mind with therapy, she put her efforts into finishing the first Harry Potter book. In fact, she had been writing early drafts of Harry Potter the day her mother died, and the work continued as her marriage in Portugal fell apart. Harry Potter became part of that therapy. She channeled her experience of depression into the Dementors, the special prison guards in Harry Potter who cause life-draining despair in all those who come near them. Rowling once said that writing the Harry Potter books had saved her. The inspiration and strength that millions of children have drawn from Harry Potter is no accident. It's what happens when an INFJ puts their talents and their struggles to good use. Don't run away from stress, anxiety, or grief. But don't pretend to be someone you aren't. Find a way to turn your struggle into something meaningful and productive. Who knows? You might just write the next Harry Potter.